All right, so today we're diving deep into the world of Dr. Oz.
Yeah, is he a visionary or a charlatan? I mean, that's the big question, right? Grifter or gifted?
Yeah, and it's a question that's followed him throughout his career, from the operating room to the television studio to the political arena. It seems like every step of the way, there are these questions about his motives.
And we've got a ton of sources here to help us unpack all of that. Articles, research notes, even a transcript from a Senate hearing.
Oh, wow, a Senate hearing.
Yeah, things got pretty intense.
I can imagine. So where do you want to start?
Well, you flagged his hydroxychloroquine comments as particularly interesting. So maybe we can start there and then kind of rewind back to the beginning, and see how he got to that point in his career.
Sounds like a plan. Because to understand the controversy,
Hmm.
you really need to understand the man.
Exactly. So for those who might need a refresher, Dr. Oz, before he was a household name, was a renowned cardiac surgeon at Columbia University. We're talking cutting-edge procedures, groundbreaking research, the whole nine yards. Yeah, I was looking through those articles about his time as a surgeon, and it's clear he was a pioneer in the field. We see evidence of numerous successful surgeries, innovative techniques, awards, recognition from the medical community. This isn't someone who just stumbled into fame. He clearly had the talent and the drive to excel in the demanding world of cardiac surgery.
So we had a gifted surgeon,
Mm.
but then he makes this leap to television. He becomes a regular on the Oprah Winfrey show, sharing his medical expertise with a much broader audience.
Mm.
Was this the first sign of a shift? A move from the operating room to the spotlight?
That's where it gets interesting, right? This desire to reach a wider audience, to influence. Perhaps that's what ultimately led him to launch the Dr. Oz show, and that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
You'll see in the sources how he transitions from heart surgery to promoting things like resveratrol.
Resveratrol.
Yeah, I remember that. It was kind of a big deal for a while.
Vaguely.
Well, this was a turning point. Was he ahead of the curve, or was he giving a platform to unproven science? That's something for you to consider.
Okay, so on the one hand, he was tackling serious health issues, like type 2 diabetes, making information more accessible to everyday people. But then you have him promoting these supplements, touting their benefits, which, as your notes point out, raise eyebrows in the scientific community.
And that's a key point, because a lot of the criticism around Dr. Oz stems from his approach to health advice. Was he simplifying complex topics for the sake of entertainment? Potentially overselling the benefits of certain products or treatments? That's a question that lingers throughout his career.
Right, and it's not just resveratrol. We see this pattern with other products and claims he made on his show. This is where the line between gifted expert and a potential grifter starts to blur.
Exactly. And his popularity only added fuel to the fire. The Dr. Oz show became a massive success, reaching millions of viewers. And you flagged this question in your notes. Did the pressure to maintain those ratings to keep people engaged influence the type of content he was putting out? Did it push him towards more sensationalized health advice?
And let's not forget his guest hosting stints on Jeopardy and Ask Oprah's All-Stars. Clearly the man has charisma.
Oh, yeah.
But was this shift from surgeon to showman a sign of changing priorities? A move away from rigorous science and into the realm of, shall we say, more entertaining health advice?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We have
Uh,
to consider the nature of television. It's a medium driven by ratings, by the need to keep audiences engaged. So did Dr. Oz, consciously or not, begin catering to those demands, perhaps at the expense of strict scientific accuracy. Did his desire for fame and influence overshadow his commitment to evidence-based medicine?
Okay, so we've got the successful TV personality, a doctor who's become a household name. But then in 2021, he takes a leap many didn't see coming, running for a Senate seat in Pennsylvania, and he ran as a conservative Republican.
Now, this is where understanding the nuances of U.S. politics comes in, because earlier in his career, Oz described himself as a moderate Republican, more centrist perhaps, but during his Senate run, he positioned himself as a conservative Republican, aligning with a different segment of the political spectrum.
And this move predictably reignited the debate about his true political leanings. You even point out that he donated to Republicans like John McCain and Bill Frist. But he also publicly praised Michelle Obama for her health initiatives. So which was it? Was this a sudden ideological shift or a calculated move to appeal to a particular voter base?
Right, we have to consider the context of the time. He entered the political scene in a highly polarized environment. Did his rhetoric change to align with a more conservative audience, or was this a genuine evolution of his political beliefs?
Adding another layer to this is his involvement with the Trump administration. Oz served on Trump's President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. And even when Biden took office and asked for his resignation, Oz refused, like he was doubling down on this new political identity.
It's a bold move. So the question becomes, was this a principled stand demonstrating his commitment to the council's goals? Or was it a way to maintain his visibility and association with a powerful figure like Trump? These are the nuances we need to untangle. It really begs the question, what were his motives? And, entering the political arena really opened him up to a whole new level of scrutiny.
Oh, yeah, all those skeletons in the closet.
Yeah, those critics came out in full force.
Right, and they wasted no time in pointing out potential conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
For instance, there were questions about his ties to Turkey's ruling party.
Yes, the Turkish connection.
Exactly. Some accuse him of being too cozy with the Turkish government, which obviously raised concerns about his loyalties and potential foreign influence.
Right. It definitely added another layer of complexity to his image. It made people question his true allegiances.
And as if that wasn't enough, his past business dealings with a Chinese tech company also came under fire. During his campaign, he adopted this tough on China stance. But some people pointed out that he had previously collaborated with a Chinese tech firm.
Yeah, that definitely smacked of hypocrisy to some folks. It made voters question his consistency,
It's like, was he just saying what people wanted to hear?
Exactly. Was he shaping his views to fit the situation, or were these genuine shifts in his beliefs?
Okay, so we've got international dealings adding to the complexity. But let's not forget the ongoing controversies surrounding his medical advice. I mean, this is where things get really heated. And honestly, it's what a lot of your sources focus on.
Yeah, the medical advice is really at the heart of the Dr. Oz debate.
Right. His promotion of alternative medicine and weight loss products,
Yeah.
some labeled as miracle cures or magic pills, it really drew a lot of heat from the scientific and medical communities.
He was even grilled during a 2014 Senate hearing about these claims. You actually included a transcript of that hearing, and it makes for fascinating reading.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize it went that far back.
Yeah, the senators really pressed him on his responsibility as a doctor, suggesting that he might be misleading the public with unverified claims.
So is that when the grifter label really started to stick?
It definitely gained traction around that time, especially with the rise of social media. It became easier for critics to amplify their concerns.
And there was even a class action lawsuit filed against him, alleging he misrepresented the effectiveness of weight loss pills.
Yeah.
That's serious stuff.
It is. But to be fair, and I think this is important to point out, he never directly sold any products on his show.
Right. He was always careful about that.
Yeah. But the argument was that his endorsements carried significant weight, influencing viewers to purchase products that may not have lived up to their advertised benefits. And when you're dealing with people's health, the stakes are incredibly high.
Absolutely. It's not like recommending a bad movie.
Exactly. People's well-being is on the line.
Yeah. And we can't forget about his endorsement of hydroxychloroquine for COVID-19, a drug that was later proven to be ineffective and potentially harmful.
Yeah. That was a major controversy.
And it happened during the peak of the pandemic, a time of fear and uncertainty. Did he genuinely believe in the drug's potential, or was he capitalizing on a desperate situation?
It's tough to say for sure. Perhaps there's a mixture of motivations at play. On one hand, you have his medical background and a likely desire to help people. On the other hand, there's the allure of fame, political power, and financial success.
It's like he's constantly wrestling with these competing forces.
Right. And it's up to us to try and decipher his true intentions.
So where do you land on this? Do you think he's more gifted or grifter?
Well, it's not as simple as slapping a label on him. It's more nuanced than that. I think it's important to consider the full picture, not just isolated incidents.
Okay, I see what you mean. So let's try and piece this together. We've got this incredibly talented heart surgeon, but also someone who seems drawn to fame and the power of influence. He makes this leap to television, becomes a household name, but then his advice starts to veer away from established science.
And as his platform grows, so does the scrutiny. His political aspirations further complicate the picture, raising questions about his motives and his willingness to adapt his message to fit the audience.
Right, and the controversies, particularly surrounding his medical advice, just keep piling up. It's like he's constantly walking this tightrope between genuine concern and questionable judgment. So how do we make sense of all this? Is there a way to separate the Dr. Oz who genuinely wants to help people from the Dr. Oz who might be more interested in fame and fortune?
That's the challenge, isn't it? It's like trying to unravel a tangled knot. But here's what I find most intriguing.
I'm all ears.
Dr. Oz's story, as controversial as it is, reflects a larger trend, a cultural phenomenon that we all need to be aware of.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
We live in an age where the lines between information and entertainment expertise and celebrity have become incredibly blurry. We're bombarded with messages, endorsements, and opinions, often presented in a way that's designed to capture our attention rather than inform us accurately. Dr. Oz's career, in a way, epitomizes this phenomenon.
That's a really good point. It's like his story is a case study in the challenges of critical thinking in the age of influencers and instant access to information. How can we discern who is genuine and who is just putting on a show?
Precisely. And this is where you, the listener, come in, because ultimately it's up to each of us to be discerning consumers of information, to question our sources, and to think critically about the messages we're being bombarded with.
That's a powerful message. So while we might not be able to definitively answer the question of gifted or grifter when it comes to Dr. Oz, we can use his story as a springboard for broader conversation. How do we navigate this world of information? Overload, celebrity endorsements, and potentially biased sources. How do we separate facts from fiction, especially when it comes to something as important as our health? These are questions we all need to grapple with.
Especially in an era where charisma and controversy seem to go hand in hand.
It's fascinating, isn't it? You have this guy who, on one hand, seems to genuinely want to help people, but then on the other hand, there's this constant cloud of controversy surrounding him.
Right, and I think that duality is what makes his story so captivating. It forces us to ask some tough questions about the nature of fame, influence, and responsibility.
Especially when it comes to something as important as our health. People trust doctors. They see them as authority figures.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so crucial to be discerning, to critically evaluate the information we're being given, regardless of who's delivering it.
This article you sent about the Senate hearing, that's where things get really interesting. It highlights a crucial point. Even those with seemingly impeccable credentials, like a renowned heart surgeon, can be swayed by fame, ambition, or other motives. So how do we, the everyday folks, navigate this complex landscape?
That's where critical thinking becomes absolutely essential. We can't just passively absorb information, especially when it comes to our health. We need to question our sources, look for evidence-based research, and consult with qualified professionals before making any significant decisions.
It reminds me of that time I tried this crazy fad diet based on a celebrity endorsement. It promised amazing results, but it ended up making me feel terrible. I think we all fall prey to the allure of quick fixes and easy solutions. But sometimes the best approach is to slow down, do our research, and consult with experts who have our best interests at heart.
Absolutely. And remember, just because someone is charismatic or entertaining doesn't automatically make them a reliable source of information. Dr. Oz's story serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us to approach all information, especially health advice, with a healthy dose of skepticism.
So while we might not be able to definitively answer whether Dr. Oz is a visionary or a charlatan, we can learn from his journey. We can use it as a reminder to be vigilant, to think critically, and to prioritize evidence over entertainment when it comes to our well-being.
Precisely, because ultimately our health is our responsibility. We need to be informed, empowered, and proactive in seeking out reliable information and making choices that align with our individual needs and values.
Well said. It's been quite a deep dive into the world of Dr. Oz, a complex figure who's left an undeniable mark on our culture.
Indeed. And his story reminds us that in a world where charisma and controversy collide, discerning a visionary from a con artist requires careful examination, critical thinking, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
It's up to each of us to weigh the evidence and form our own conclusions. That's all the time we have for today. But as always, we encourage you to keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Until next time.